Trinidad Chambliss is in prime position to be the talk of college football, but this week will be massive for that to happen.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member. On today's show, we'll talk about a massive commitment that Ole Miss got for this year's class as Ole Miss landed JaMichael Garrett out of Baton Rouge. We'll introduce you to this player and highlight the linebackers currently being recruited as well. Next, we'll break down the keys to taking on the Tulane Green Wave, including how Jake Retzlaff will play a huge role in this matchup. But first, we focus on Trinidad Chambliss, who became the talk of college football after his spectacular game against Arkansas. His D2 background has been part of the storyline, but now becomes the true test. Not because Tulane is better than Arkansas, but because there's film out there for them to study. And everybody knows John Summerall's a pretty good coach. This week, Ole Miss needs to fully commit to Chambliss and give him the tools to succeed. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. And a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download that app today. So Trinidad Chambliss became the talk of college football after his massively awesome performance on Saturday against Arkansas. He was amazing. You want to look at his numbers. He was sitting there at 21 or 29, 353 yards, had a touchdown, added two more running touchdowns on the ground, and has about 62 yards rushing as well. Very twitchy athlete. He threw the ball a lot better than I expected him to. I was expecting basically a 1990s version of a triple option quarterback that was really good with his legs because he only threw for about 200 yards per game at Division II Ferris State. But Trinidad Chambliss just took care of the ball, put it where it needed to be, attacked downfield, ran the ball effectively, and hit his checkdowns. That is what Trinidad did, and he did it very well. Just to let you know what he did at Ferris State, you have these numbers where he was 226 for 367, nearly 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. We're talking about somebody that takes care of the football. And he took care of the football against the Arkansas Razorbacks to the tune where it ended up with him getting accolades all over the college football world. He was the Maxwell Player of the Week. That's the player that's basically right below the Heisman Trophy. The Ireland and England Player of the Week, Trinidad Chambliss, he got that as well, and the Manning Award pointing him out as well. That game has everybody ready to explode, essentially. So everybody's going to be watching this game against the Tulane Green Wave to see what they need to take from it. Is Trinidad Chambliss ready to take that next step? Is this going to continue a little bit, or will it fizzle out? Remember in 2016, after Chad Kelly got injured against Georgia Southern, next game, they immediately took the red shirt off of Shea Patterson, put him into the game, and against Texas A&M, honestly, he was good. He made some plays running side to side, some improvisational plays, but he could not put it together. The next week, Ole Miss went up to Vandy and got curb stomped. Shea looked completely out of sorts. Now, he was a true freshman. Trinidad's a junior or a senior, depending on how you want to look at eligibility. And so there's a depth of time of playing football difference, but we've seen hot starts and then it fizzles out. We've seen that. We've also seen Jordan Ta'amu come out and have a game really similar to what Trinidad Chambliss just did and continue that along, and he's still playing professional football out there. We told everybody after it was over, this guy's better than Shea Patterson, and it turned out to be true. But the whole college football world is ready to explode with the hype over this player. The storylines, the stats, the way he plays the game, the infectious smile. Listen, he had a quote after the Arkansas game. It's a dream come true. You dream of moments like this. Coming from D2, I'm very grateful and appreciative for the opportunity that arose today. I'm just going to soak it all in and interact with all the fans because that was me when I was little. I mean, everything from that Arkansas game was a direct hit by Trinidad Chambliss. It was perfect. Everybody talking about him, it was off of everything. It was a perfect storm. This week is going to provide a true test so we can see exactly what we have at quarterback. I think personally that a 2-quarterback system down the road with Austin Simmons taking the reins and being kind of the starter and the Tim Tebow package being Trinidad Chambliss, I think that's the direction we're going. But that's not necessarily the case. I've talked to several people. There's a little bit of concern right now that the upswell in the fan base over Trinidad Chambliss could overtake Austin Simmons. You know, that's one of those things. So Ole Miss is kind of teetering the line of a quarterback controversy right now. As long as Austin Simmons is not healthy, there's nothing for you to worry about. But as soon as Austin Simmons becomes healthy, and I think you need Austin Simmons for LSU, Georgia, and Oklahoma. I think Austin Simmons, what he does, he's a 1-1 level talent at quarterback. If he can take care of the football against those teams, he provides you the best opportunity to win those games. Now, the other games on the schedule, South Carolina, Florida, Mississippi State, Citadel, Washington State, Trinidad Chambliss can win those games. I have no doubt after seeing what he did against Arkansas. But now there's tape on him. And John Summerall is a really good coach. He is a really good coach. And he is going to see the take and it's like, okay, we need to take this away, we need to take that away, and we need to take that away. If we do that, Trinidad Chambliss will be limited. Arkansas came in against Trinidad and decided to do the engage 8 thing that we always knew and sink coverage. Trinidad, they were banking on would not be accurate downfield, and if they blitzed him, there would be mistakes made. They guessed wrong. They had the wrong game plan. What is the deal with Trinidad Chambliss? Do you sit back in zone and just kind of keep everything in front of you and dare Ole Miss to beat you with Kewan Lacey and the running game? Do you just not give up the big play? Which in this past week, the big play was like on the menu every single time they snapped the ball. What John Summerall does to Trinidad Chambliss is going to affect the way the game looks. I'm not expecting 353 yards again. I'm expecting somewhere near the mean of about 200 yards if he plays against Tulane. I expect to run the ball on the goal line. They're going to be very effective, and I expect Kewan Lacey to do that. Ole Miss needs to commit to this week. Now, I'm not talking commit to Trinidad Chambliss. Commit to this week. One game plan, Trinidad Chambliss, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends. Make Tulane play the game in as much of a phone booth as you can put together. If that happens, the outside should open up. Your weapons on the outside should be pretty good. Besides Retzlaff, who's the leading passer and rusher for the Tulane Green Wave, they also have a cornerback that has 3 interceptions on the year. And they've beaten Duke and Northwestern, 2 Power 4 wins at home. But Ole Miss is not Duke or Northwestern. We'll see. The one time that Tulane has gone on the road, they honestly should have been tied at least and sent to overtime against South Alabama. We'll see. It should be interesting, but Trinidad Chambliss is on the tip of the tongues of everybody that follows college football, and another big game by Trinidad with the name and everything, and it's going to absolutely explode. I've seen this. We've all watched football. The player comes in, does well, gets the hype. If he comes back and does it again, it exponentially increases. and then it keeps going until somebody figures out how to stop him. That is just what we do. Ole Miss, though, has the benefit of having a really good quarterback that is getting healthy. And I think at the end of the year, both of those quarterbacks working in tandem is kind of the way moving forward and the way to get to 10 wins. So we'll see exactly how that goes as well. So Jake Retzlaff, he's been firing on all cylinders for the Tulane Green Wave this year, and he has already picked up 2 Power 4 scalp wins. So what are the keys and what do you need to watch for when Ole Miss faces him? That's coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call actually pays off. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections. You can turn your takes into real prizes in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing Prize Picks lately, and it's such a fun way to stay locked into the NFL this season. It's quick, it's easy, and honestly, it's my favorite way to follow along with it. And the best part, even if one of your picks misses, Prize Picks invented the flex play, so you can still double your money. Download the Prize Picks apps today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, to get $50 in lineups after you play that first $5 lineup. That's Locked On College for $50 in lineups after you play that first $5 play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whatever audio podcast you're listening to and give it a 5-star review. It costs nothing but keeps everything free. If you want more, join the Insiders program in the subtext link down below. No trolls, 14-day free trial, and the easiest way ever to cancel. So give that a try. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, is ready for you. All right, so when putting together the keys for this game, it kind of all swarms around the defense of Tulane and Jake Retzlaff. That's the kind of the position we're in at the moment. When you look at this game, the keys to it, in my opinion, make Jake Retzlaff beat you with his arm. His strength is the quarterback run game. He had 4 rushing touchdowns against the Duke Blue Devils in a game at Ullman Stadium down in New Orleans last weekend. He has 6 on the season. He can run the ball quite a bit. He has 522 yards passing over 3 games. That is 160 yards per game. They like to run the football. To put it honestly, Jake Retzlaff had 17 carries and completed 15 passes against the Duke Blue Devils, and it was 13-13 against USA. Tulane is 3-0, but it is because Jake Retzlaff has been allowed to kind of get off. And when looking at him, he averaged 11.3 yards against Northwestern. That's fine. Northwestern is terrible. But he had 6.5 yards per carry against the Duke Blue Devils. Again, 17 carries, 111 yards, 4 touchdowns. So it's going to be imperative for Ole Miss and Pete Golding and Ole Miss's defense to make him beat you with his arm, not his leg. The second key to this week is commit to Trinidad Chambliss and anticipate how John Sumrall will attack him. What I mean by commit to Trinidad is commit to him this week. When you build the game plan, don't build 2 game plans like you did a week ago. Build one really good game plan to where you mix in a little 22 personnel and a little 12 personnel, and you can change up to Trinidad Chambliss's strengths and anticipate how John Sumrall will attack him. What will John Sumrall try to take away? That is going to be imperative. Ole Miss has a ton of analysts, and I'm sure it will be fine on that. And Ole Miss must play a clean game because every turnover and penalty is how Tulane beats you. If you have 3 interceptions or put the ball on the ground or 10 penalties or something like that, that is dirtying up the game at a level where Tulane can beat you. Again, this is going to be a game to where Tulane cannot win without Ole Miss's help. Ole Miss has to assist. But Ole Miss, over the course of the first 2 games this season, they did assist. Ole Miss has been very good in the latter parts of the game, and especially in the middle 8 minutes of the game. That middle 8 at the end of the 4 minutes at the end of the second quarter and 4 minutes at the beginning of the third quarter, Ole Miss has done pretty well in that period over the course of this season. So that's going to be really big for winning time, but commit to Trinidad, and Trinidad needs to take care of the ball and play clean as well. Now, what to watch for in this game, I think Tennessee's going to, or Tulane, not Tennessee, will populate the box versus Ole Miss, and kind of Ole Miss can use exotic personnel packages to combat that. Tulane is basically the team that invented against Ole Miss the engage 8, to where you just try to get to Jackson Dart as quickly as possible and dare Ole Miss to throw it down field. If you throw it short, there's going to be some wide open options. If you throw it long, there's going to be players down there, and with the pressure, you can kind of influence what's going on. We didn't see that with Trinidad against Arkansas. I don't know if we'll see that against Tulane, but we didn't see it against Arkansas. I mean, exotic personnel groups, maybe Kewan Lacey and Logan Diggs in the backfield at the same time, maybe running 2 tight ends from time to time. I think you can get exotic with the way you look. All right. And the defense needs to make some explosive plays before their next stretch of games. Ole Miss has LSU in a week. Ole Miss needs to make some explosive plays. They had an opportunity. 3 interceptions were dropped against Arkansas. And they did have the turnover at the end of the game, but they need to get to the quarterback, and they need to affect the turnover game and get some short fields for the Ole Miss offense. And this is more about LSU and Georgia and Oklahoma, but it needs to happen. We're a quarter way through the schedule right now, but we'll see. The athletes are in place to do it. They're still developing. I think this might be the week that you turn Suntarine Perkins. He's yet to get a sack. Turn him loose a little bit as an outside player. Turn Prince Will Amamielin loose. If you do that, you will be all right. And the third thing is, don't under any circumstances give Tulane a short field. Make them drive the length of the field to score. Don't give them 30-yard fields. Don't do the thing that you did against the Kentucky Wildcats. Make them drive the field. If you do that, you will be all right. It will be fine. Listen, Tulane offensively, looking at the stats, they have one good wide receiver that's putting up pretty good numbers, but is basically Jake Retzlaff, to where he's the leading passer, the leading rusher. The second leading rusher has a little over 100 yards. He's probably going to be a little bit effective in the game, but make Retzlaff attack you with his arm. If you get beat with Retzlaff throwing the ball all over the field for his career day, okay, that's fine. But make him beat you with his arm. If you can do that, you will be all right. You will be fine, and we'll see exactly how it goes. Ole Miss at 2:30 on Saturday, 2:30 Central Time on Saturday on ESPN. Should be pretty good, and the time came out for the LSU game. Next week, it'll be on ABC at 2:30 p.m. So we'll see exactly how that goes. I'm looking forward to the matchup between Trinidad Chambliss and John Sumrall and those players going back and forth, because JT Snow's on my mind. And for those who don't know, I've talked about this a couple of times. So if you listen to the podcast a good bit, I'm going to get repetitive, but I apologize for that. But JT Snow was a player for the California Angels that hit like 10 home runs in his first 13 games or something like that. And he ended up with like 15 or 16 over the course of the year. The moral of the story is they find the hole in your swing. They take away what you do well, and they make you beat them by what you don't do so well. That's what good coaches do. That's what they're paid to find out. They did that with JT Snow. What will John Sumrall do with Trinidad Chambliss? Again, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't. Ole Miss has better players than Tulane. It's the SEC versus the American Conference. But what will John Sumrall try to do to get the young man confused? A lot of football. He played a lot of football at Ferris State. He was third in the Harlan Hill Trophy, which is the D2 Heisman last year. We will see what this player looks like against the Tulane Green Wave. I think it has a chance to look pretty good. I'm pretty fired up about what could happen. Anyway, in our final segment, Ole Miss just landed a big-time 2026 commitment in JaMichael Garrett. We'll introduce you to the latest Rebel commitment, break down what type of player he is, and look at what this means for Ole Miss's future momentum. It's coming up right after this. College football is so back, and I could not be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing quite like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, and prices jumping at checkout. That is why I use GameTime, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It is the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up GameTime in just a couple of taps. I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college teams with games as low as $25 to get in. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, all one word, for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download GameTime today. The Rebels got a big commitment from JaMichael Garrett, linebacker out of Central High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He's actually a transfer there from Gulf Shores, Alabama, and he's friends with the commitment that Ole Miss got in the 2027 class from Oxford, Alabama. There's a whole lot of Deep South kind of going together, but this is a really good player, everybody. JaMichael Garrett from Central High School in Louisiana. He's a 3-star on Rivals. I don't know why, but he is. But he is a 4-star on 247 and a 4-star on ESPN, both of which happening on the middle of their top 300 list. He is a twitchy player. He is somebody that at the end of the day, you won't play in linebacker. Now, I think what happens and why Rivals has him so small, he's listed at 6 foot 195 right now. Now, you don't know if a player is going to grow. You don't know what they're going to be able to take, but the odds are he's going to be able to put on some weight, and he's going to join Ant Davis and those guys playing linebacker for Ole Miss. Listen, he is really good and really exciting to see what goes on, honestly. In the first play of his highlight, he takes a pass with one hand, picks it off about 7-yard line on his own 7, picks it off, runs it back for a touchdown through the middle of the field, just kind of swerves in and out. It was a typical high school player where you have one of those interceptions that happen when somebody's so much better of an athlete than everybody else on the field. It was absolutely amazing. A super twitchy player. He's somebody that you can line up and move him around. You mix him with Ant Davis, and all of a sudden you have somebody at the linebacker position. And Pete Golding, you know, we talk about it, but TJ Daugherty, pretty good at linebacker. He created the fumble at the end of the game, basically the winning play. Got picked on a little bit in zone coverage, but that happens from time to time. And Arkansas was able to carve up the Ole Miss defense, but Daugherty kept fighting. And he's somebody that was relatively a small guy that has grown and grown and grown into a role. I think that is what JaMichael Garrett and Ant Davis and those guys will do at the linebacker position. When Xavier Williams decommitted and committed to Florida State, everybody was like, oh no, which way will Ole Miss go? You know, this was the linebacker. It was the number 1 linebacker in the country, if you remember correctly. And then Ole Miss went out and got a commitment from Ant Davis, got a commitment from JaMichael Garrett, and now the linebacker room looks honestly good. They're fine. They're good to go. With signing day just a couple of weeks away, it's starting to get real. The real is starting to happen. Emmanuel Tucker committed. Jaden Curtis committed. they've done a pretty good job with the in-state recruiting, all the panic that we had going into it. They've kind of fixed that with the hiring of Donte Moncrief. Moncrief has done a heck of a job this year trying to get in the in-state recruiting ties. Now, the hilarious thing that is out there right now is Jace Williams, or Jace, he's going to be a really good player for Auburn potentially. David Johnson got tongue-tied there for a second. David Johnson put in a crystal ball for a flip for Jace. And he's the number one wide receiver in the entire country. He's a 5-star. He is somebody that I've spoken with Brian Smith, the Florida football scout, multiple times about. And he is somebody that could be very, very, very influential for what's going on. So we'll see exactly how that goes and what it looks like. We know that he is a really good player at wide receiver. We know that if he flips over, all of a sudden the in-state recruiting haul looks completely different than it did before. So we'll see how it goes, essentially. I think he is going to end up at Ole Miss, but not because David Johnson put in a crystal ball for it. I think him being a cousin with Donte Moncrief probably has something to do with it as well. So we'll see exactly how that goes. You know, you just get tongue-tied, you have a couple of brain surgeries, and you forget names. They just disappear from time to time. So we'll see exactly what happens. I want to apologize to the kid for that, but we'll see exactly what happens and where Ole Miss sits. But they're doing a lot better when it comes to high school recruiting than they were just 2 months ago, if we're going to be honest about it. Thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. If you don't believe me, Google Ole Miss podcast and see how many times this podcast comes up. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it's completely free. Your support means the world to us. Loomers are the absolute best. Also, in another big moment for Locked On, college football fans, Locked On and Fire TV are presenting College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, and former college star Jesse Holley, along with Locked On's local panel of experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Howdy toddy, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow. Remember, analytics are just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you later.